What's the haps? I'm Meroka, and I'm here to give you my professional gaming opinion on Murder by Numbers. Murder by Numbers isn't a super new game, it's been out a little while, but it's also the first game I can say I've actually completed since about March. See my previous video on Games as a Service for further thoughts on that subject. So, first up, hands up. Who knew that Mediatonic, the guys behind Four Guys, had made any previous games? I didn't. I picked it up because a charming murder mystery detective visual novel puzzle game looked entirely up my street, and I was halfway through it before I spotted a familiar logo on the title screen. Sadly, Murder by Numbers will never reach the same level as acclaim as their wacky streamer bait viral hit, so I'm here to tell you all about it. Murder by Numbers is an almost self-explanatory concept. It's a murder mystery, so far so good, I'm on board with this, and all of the clues are discovered by solving nonograms, aka Picross, aka Paint by Numbers. Murder by Numbers. It's primarily a visual novel. Set in the mid-90s, our protagonist Honor is dismissed from her supporting role in a Hollywood TV show, only to immediately come across Scout, a mysterious robot with no memories and limited functions. The two soon become embroiled in a murder at the TV studio, and Honor comes to rely on Scout's image recognition capabilities to search for clues, at first to clear a name, and then later to help solve the whodunit. It's the scanning ability of Scout that provides the basis of the nonograms. Every time you find an item to scan, you're given a blank grid with numbers at the edges, which, if you're not familiar with nonograms, you can then use to logically deduce which squares of the grid to fill in order to create a pixel art representation of your clue. And the game does very much assume you're not familiar with nonograms. It starts you out with some very easy ones to learn the ropes, and it gradually ramps up to teach you the logic behind solving them, yet without ever explaining it explicitly. It made me feel pretty clever at least, as there's a real satisfaction when you get a new rule or a way of approaching things. On the flip side, if you're a hardcore nonogram fan, it might actually not be challenging enough for your tastes. I've seen commenters on Steam lament that the largest puzzle is only 15 by 20 tiles, and in fact there's actually only even one that big. Once it gets going, most are 15 by 15. I gather the 360 nonogram scope pros would prefer something more like 40 by 40, but that just sounds terrifying and time consuming to me. The 15 by 15s strike a fairly nice balance between challenge and keeping the story moving, and not stopping for an hour or more on every puzzle. Just to add a tiny pinch of spice to things, there's also a hacking minigame, which requires you to solve multiple mini 5x5 nonograms in rapid succession against the clock, where mistakes cost you time. There's literally no downside to messing it up though, you just get to do it again. The visual novel side of things is just wonderful throughout. It's a colourful and charming world, even if more than a few people do wind up dead in it. The art comes from Hato Moa of Hatoful Boyfriend fame, while the extremely catchy upbeat soundtrack, which you can hear a little bit of in the background here, is from Masakazu Sugimori of Phoenix Wright fame. Story-wise, it's pretty standard murder mystery fare with all the requisite twists and turns, though perhaps a little bit predictable in places. Is the angry man in a suit with jagged teeth a bad guy? Invariably yes, even if not necessarily for the reasons you might initially think. There's plenty of character development and exploration of the shades of grey that make up the human experience, and it will still manage to surprise you, but if you think they're a baddie before they deliver a single line, then you're almost certainly right. More than anything, I've enjoyed seeing a really positive representation in Murder by Numbers of a lot of groups that are often marginalised in media. For starters, our protagonist, Honor, is a black woman, and she's smart, confident and capable. The situations where she comes to rely on others serve to act as opportunities for character development rather than ever disempowering her. There's really great LGBT+ representation too. Honor's best friend Casey is openly gay and honestly just the best. I really need him to do my hair for me. There's an entire chapter too set in a drag club. In any other game you'd pretty much expect this to be the butt of endless jokes, but it's handled really well. The drag artist characters are depicted as human. Larger-than-life, loud, colourful humans, but not as a freak show or a joke. Even the one character you'd kind of expect it from, the aging, hardened detective who's too old for this shit, has an entirely respectful conversation about pronouns, concluding with him not really getting it, but wanting to do his best to respect people. Is that going to upset the snowflakes, who think representation amounts to pushing an agenda and it's somehow going to turn people gay? Well, obviously yes, but I don't think they're the target audience anyway. All in all, I can't recommend Murder by Numbers enough. As I touched on earlier, and also previously on my channel, I finished what I would describe as disappointingly few video games this year, but Murder by Numbers has really stuck with me as an experience. Honestly, it was maybe just beginning to outstay its welcome by the end. It took me 37 hours in all to complete, which I honestly hadn't bargained for in a £12 indie game. I definitely expected something more bite-sized. But then if value for money is a thing you concern yourself with, then it performs really well by that metric. And if nonograms are your jam, like really your jam, there's also a bonus 69, nice, puzzles to unlock as you progress through the story to keep you going for even longer. Murder by Numbers is out now on PC and Switch, and in fact has been since March. I'm just way behind on things. There's links in the description if you want to check it out, and I would heartily recommend you do. I've been Meroka, taking a look at Murder by Numbers, and I'll see you next time.